I'm your boy DJ, aka Mr. Too Many Reasons himself, and I'm here with my sugar pie honey bun. You know that I love you.
I can't
Can't
help
help
myself.
myself.
I'm loving you and nobody else.
Mm.
My girl. Is that?
Oh, that's not it. That wasn't it. That wasn't it,
So that's
sweetheart.
not the same song?
That's not. That's not.
My
Maybe.
girl, my
That's no.
girl.
That's not the same song. Talking about how you get sugar pie honey bump to my girl. That is crazy. Yo, what's good? And welcome back for another edition of What?
Let's talk about it with the Redmonds.
I'm your boy DJ, aka Mr. Too Many Reasons himself, and I'm here with my sugar pie honey bun. You know that I love you.
I can't
Can't
help
help
myself.
myself.
I'm loving you and nobody else.
Mm.
My girl. Is that?
Oh, that's not it. That wasn't it. That wasn't it,
So that's
sweetheart.
not the same song?
That's not. That's not.
My
Maybe.
girl, my
That's no.
girl.
That's not the same song. Talking about how you get sugar pie honey bump to my girl. That is crazy. But anyway, introduce yourself, babe. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Crene.
Hey man, that's my girl Nay. Hey, my girl
Hey,
Nay.
hey, hey.
Hey. And today, man, we wanted to come in and tap in with y'all, man. Let y'all know we've been good in these streets,
Yeah, we've
and
been
everything
good.
been good with us. And coming from our parenting topics, we want to dive into.
Wait, before we dive into,
Dive into what?
all right, we want to say thank you for those who have viewed our videos. Thank you so
Yes,
much for tuning in. We
yes,
do see you guys, and even if it's only one viewer, it's one person, so that's good enough for us. We're going to continue to bring you guys content and continue to be consistent. So we just want to, before we get into the new topic, just appreciative to those who are taking time and listening, and hopefully you're able to take some things away from what we have discussed from our parenting topic.
yeah, man. And that was a deep, dope, interesting topic. Like you said, we enjoy doing this because it's our chance to bond and hang out with one another.
Yeah,
So that's why we enjoy doing it.
yeah.
And if our words can help anybody, then we're okay with that. And
Mm-hmm.
with that, from parenting, the thing that goes into parenting is communication, and communication is real big in our household. I graduated
Yeah.
from school with it. I brought that into our relationship, letting her know that this is a place that we will not fail. Have we had our moments? Sure, but like we said, our foundation is our friendship, and that allows us to be able to reconcile and
Yeah.
really communicate with one another and really have great communication during conflict. And
Mm.
we feel that conflict resolution in a marriage and or relationship is very important,
Yeah.
and the things that go into that are very important. We don't have all the answers,
Right.
and there are many ways to go about it, but
Yeah.
we have about 5, maybe 6 things that we can look back on and that we can talk about that has been in our marriage and our
Mhm.
relationship, and that has helped us elevate our ways of communicating and making
Yeah.
sure that we are doing what we can to make sure we solve conflicts in our relationship. So we just wanted to hit y'all with a few things that has been helpful for us and elaborate, share some experiences with y'all and how that's supposed to look and how that goes. So one of the first things that we kind of talked about just regularly, and we was having these conversations early on in our relationship and dating, was about just posting things on the internet. We used to laugh at having aim and having that sidekick, and soon somebody get mad, and somebody in the conflict, you go check that away message. That away message, boy, we used to be a tell-all. You remember the away messages?
Yeah, I do.
Away messages, you tell it all. You knew who was mad. You
Yep.
knew who he was messing with, who
Yeah.
she
Ooh,
was
AIM used to
messing
be
with.
so messy.
AIM was messy. And then we evolved from AIM to MySpace.
Yeah.
And then we evolved from MySpace to Facebook. And now
Yeah.
we got
But then
Snapchat.
before after MySpace, remember we had the LX.
That's
Wasn't
all.
that?
That's all
That's all a
AIM.
part of AIM.
AIM.
That's what.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
That's
I
all
had the
part of AIM.
LX, and I remember that. Because that's what I'm saying. I'm thinking of the LX and being messy on that device, or I just
Yeah, but that's what I'm
remember.
saying. The sidekick, the LX and the sidekick was like the evolution
Yeah,
of it.
but
So
MySpace came before AIM.
no, MySpace is after that, right? We was on sidekicks before we started being on computers with MySpace. Trust me.
No, I didn't have no sidekick until I was in high school.
That's okay. And sidekicks came out in high school, just like MySpace came out in high
Right.
school.
MySpace did not come out in high school. MySpace came out like junior high.
Okay.
Yeah, like it
No.
was the LX and the sidekicks because and then remember the chirps. The chirps
Yeah.
were before the sidekicks.
Correct. We wasn't on the internet like that.
I know, but what I'm saying is that the chirps was before the sidekick. So it was MySpace.
I had a chirp and a
Okay,
sidekick
look
at the
it
same
up.
time.
All
How
right,
am I looking it up? I ain't got my phone. My phone is used to
I'm about to
record.
look it up because I want to make sure because and this is what we're going. This is not necessarily a conflict, but we just want to.
I know. I'm trying to tell you, I know the order how these things went. We started all having cell phones, and then we started having sidekicks. Then somebody introduced MySpace, and then MySpace turned into a place where everybody started talking and doing all that kind of stuff.
So MySpace came out in 2003.
2003.
So
That's when I started high school.
I was still in junior high school. So so technically no one's wrong because you were already in high school. Yeah. I was still in middle school. I didn't start high school till 04.
MySpace is launched on August 1st, 2003. Yeah, I started high school. I was already in high school.
That makes sense. And then let me see. What year did Sidekicks come out? In 2006. So, yeah.
Thank you.
So that makes sense.
MySpace was before
so
Sidekicks.
MySpace was, wow, I don't know. Well, I said MySpace was before Sidekicks. I said that.
No, okay. Maybe.
Like, what?
No one was using MySpace until around the 06, 07 era. That's when like MySpace started really taking off.
Yeah, I can say that.
Yeah, that's when it started taking off. Was MySpace here? Sure.
I wasn't using. Well, I mean, I wasn't on my. You was a MySpace
I was
person.
on MySpace.
I wasn't on MySpace because I didn't have a computer like that.
Yeah,
so I wasn't on it.
Yeah, we had MySpace. So, but anyway, that's where social media started, and that's where all the messiness of posting everything came about. And one of the things we had talked about randomly, I don't remember the conversation exactly, but like not being those people that if we mad at each other, we all on Instagram or Snapchat or whatever it is saying, oh yeah, that's why I don't like Crene or whatever the case is. There's only one time I felt Crene was being messy on social media. Yeah, we was dating. And
what?
Yeah,
I don't recall that. Yeah, was it the first year?
Yeah. Remember we had old boy and he was supposed to be building something. And that didn't work out.
Well, we wasn't together.
But I felt like you was being
that
messy.
Doesn't matter.
I felt like you was being messy.
I was.
Exactly. I know you was. So
I was just trying to get him mad. But we wasn't even together. We were like talking and we were dating, I guess, yeah. But it wasn't official yet.
But anyway, like that kind of stuff never helps your relationships. It doesn't. It can create problems or whatever the case is. So, just we think that it's important to avoid that. Because it just allows for people to be in your business. And then you become mad when people in your business and it's like, dang, you gonna go back to her.
Or giving you or him the side eye like
yeah, like y'all relationship always gonna be looked at questionably.
Yeah.
And that's not good because it's like, how could you quote unquote possibly seek sound advice when it's like, even if we tell you something, ain't like y'all about to take it. You feel me? Even if we talk to y'all or separately and tell you to go do this, it's not like y'all gonna use the information to go do something different.
Right.
You okay with it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So it's like, that's why you need to keep it off the internet. Yeah. Like if you got your friends that you talking to and you're kind of giving that information to, and they know that you're going through makeup breakup, that is what it is. Because hopefully you have good friends that can just be there for you. Yeah. But just posting your stuff and talking about it heavily and
It's not
say
healthy.
it's just not healthy. It's very toxic.
It's very toxic.
And we try to help people avoid toxicity.
Yeah.
Because toxic relationships don't last, and toxic relationships only become more toxic. Diddy and Cassie, by the way. But anyway, stay away from toxicity. And one of the first ways to stay away from toxicity in your relationship is avoid posting things on social media. So when you get mad, go to your notebook or something. And like your iPhone got notes.
Yeah, I'm supposed to have been talking about that part. So
what? I was leading you into it, Grenade. Go talk.
Oh, you were leading me into it because I thought I was gonna actually talk about
just
the
notebook. Go talk. This hey, I need you to know how to do TV. You should learn how to do TV.
Because I thought you was gonna say, babe. So so what's the dude?
You didn't let me finish.
Okay, go ahead.
Too late now. We already here. So, what are some alternatives that you can do besides posting stuff on social media? Like what? I don't understand. I'm teaching her how to do media. We're working on it.
Okay, so as DJ mentioned, that we both agree that you should definitely not be posting on social media about your relationships, what's going on with your relationship, because again, social media is really for entertainment when you think about it. And yes, people do care about you, but for the most part, social media is an entertainment outlet. So what we talked about was if you want to get something off your chest, because sometimes you just have to just get it out. Use your notepad. We say our phone stays in our hand 24/7. So use your notepad. Go to your notepad and get off everything you need to say. And then sometimes you can use that as a guide too when you're ready to face that person head on. Like, all right, this is what I talked about. This is how I feel. Because not saying that those feelings are not valid, but the world do not need to know, or your close friends, or on social media. Just leave it off the goddamn social media. Like, it's not for everybody to see, because you're creating that space that everybody's gonna be in your business now and asking you like, oh girl, so or dang, you post about your girlfriend, or you post about this, like what, just asking you questions, and you like, oh, we back together. After he did all that,
he didn't cheated. He didn't win with his baby
after you
mama.
caught him with his baby mama at the park. So you start questioning, like, right. Yeah, I don't know.
And now you look all crazy. Even vice versa for fellas. So it's like, it's not that. So all you're doing is, instead of posting it, you're just keeping it to yourself. That's right. All we telling you to do. We're not saying don't go type it out, or you need to yell and scream and all that.
Yeah.
We just saying keep it to yourself. Yeah. Even if you want to, you do videos, just record yourself and just keep it. Don't put it out there. Just keep it to yourself. Be expressive. Be angry.
For sure.
Cuss. Do as much as you want.
For sure.
We just saying don't post it.
Yeah.
Don't press send.
Don't put it on.
Don't put it on social media.
Especially if you're going back.
Yeah. Especially. And 9 out of 10,
you end
up going back. Both males and females. It may not work out that second, third, fourth time around, but at some point you usually end up going back. So we just encourage people just to avoid posting those things on social media.
Right.
One of the other things that come from social media is emotional regulation. That is a very difficult thing. That's not nothing that you just learn in a day. That's not nothing that just comes with a natural thing or whatever. Because all of us have traumas. Mm-hmm. All of us has been through.
All of us have triggers.
So many different things, and has been through the ringer with our own lives. Growing up, your childhood traumas, whether you can acknowledge them or not.
Yeah.
So many things affect you and your emotional state.
Yep.
And that allows for you to be very aggressive or
shut down.
Like there are so many different emotions that come into that. So learning to have emotional regulation and self-awareness, those two kind of run hand in hand.
Yeah.
We're all growing. Like it ain't like, oh, it's gonna happen overnight, but it's a part of being able to identify, like, all right, how have I handled these situations before?
Right.
And how have they worked out versus let me try to handle it a different emotional way and see what kind of results I get. So what is your thoughts to that?
I mean, like you said, kind of, thinking about your past experiences, how did you handle these situations? And then you have to, think like, okay, so if I handle it, if it didn't work out that way, maybe I need to fix it and change how I'm, approaching situations when they come high intense or, emotional situations. But as me and DJ were talking about, is sometimes we don't even know how to even redirect. Sometimes we don't even know how to switch because we're so used to the same behavior over and over again, especially if we grew up that way. Like, speaking about childhood traumas, and that's how we were raised, then that's something that it takes a lot to break that. It's a lot to break it. So what we're talking about was just, looking into therapy, taking that step to get yourself that extra help, that support, so you can have like the language, you can have like, more education as to maybe like what's, bless you, as to like what's, what's going on, as far as like how you're handling your emotions.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, it's great to say, you know what, I don't want to do things that way anymore, but I want to change it and do it this way. But again, it's like, but how do I,
And I think that stems from a conversation we was having just recently, speaking on our experiences with it, is understanding. Hopefully, you meet a person that is opposite of you in your emotional regulation, and that kind of helps.
Yeah.
So, like,
it does.
For me, one of my emotions that I quote unquote lacked is having like empathy. I wouldn't even say I was empathetic, but just having emotions when it comes to stuff. And Cornell used to say, like you have to be gentle with your wife or be gentle with me. Even when I'm mad or when I'm angry. I've never been physical or I don't really yell, but like my responses and how I will respond wasn't gentle. And so I had to learn to become more gentle even within my anger. So I wasn't out here yelling at her and doing all that, but I still was I was sarcastic or I was very snarky or I was very direct and how I would say things. And so that was an emotional regulation that I had to be able to come to, and for that side. And so she was better at the emotional regulation than I was at that. And then remember you said how I helped you when we what was the flip side of it?
So how you helped me to I think my anger, in a sense, I think me being frustrated or me being angry and having not actually angry at him, but again, when things are not addressed, when things are unhealed, when things are, is a trigger for you and you are not aware of those triggers, you become angry. You like, why am I so mad? Like, why do I have so much anger right now? So DJ helped me to like really be aware of that, and also like how I even, speak to him when we're having disagreements, like I really had to check myself, like, okay, that was too much, like I didn't have to yell, I didn't have to do that, so he helped me to balance that, because I think like when his tone go up, my tone go up. Like, okay, let's have if this is what you want to do, we can yell, but he has helped me to really, because he don't yell, when he yell, it's like, okay, he's mad, like he's really like fed up. Like that's why me and the kids, we don't like when he yells, because our daughter be like, well, why are you yelling? Because he don't yell. So when you do yell, we be like, we offended, like, why are you yelling at me? So it makes us really feel some type of way.
But it also makes it powerful too.
But it makes it powerful because I don't exactly, because he don't. So when he yells, it's like, okay, now we gotta get it together, or I really have to maybe apologize or, approach the situation differently. So yeah, so he helped me on that of just being aware of my emotions as far as like my levels and how to balance those levels.
And I think that's what's important, just because if I'm a hothead and she a hothead,
that ain't gonna go.
It ain't gonna work. If I'm hella nonchalant and she hella nonchalant, that ain't gonna work.
Somebody gotta be, somebody gotta be the bigger person, even though it's hard.
I wouldn't, not to cut you off. It's be the bigger person as you continue to grow, right? Like in certain situations. But I'm saying like it's easier when one of us is the opposite. So if you're more of a hothead, not saying that you are, and I'm more nonchalant, we can be able to raise each other, meet each other in the middle, if that makes sense. Versus if we both hotheads, how are we gonna communicate when we sitting here yelling at one another? You feel me? That kind of ties into the next part of it is being able to, with that emotional regulation, being able to talk to each other in a tone that's going to breed results. If you yelling, I'm yelling, who's listening? Nobody's listening. One of the biggest things I learned in communication, there has to be a receiver and a sender. There has to be. And if both people are senders at the same time, who's receiving
Nobody
anything?
receiving anything.
There's
Yeah.
no transmission.
Yeah.
And so like the thing that I knew, I don't think it frustrated her because she could speak to it, was that when she would talk, I would get very quiet. And I'd just kind of sit there. And I would just listen. And then she'd be probably looking at me like, you just not going to respond? Because I didn't always respond right away. I didn't.
And that the who. But now I understand.
Because
and
it's
now
it's a part of me processing.
when he speaks and he he's talking to me, I find myself processing now, like, before I just respond, I have to really think before I say, because it's like, wait, okay, let me make sure I understand what he's saying and making sure that whatever I say, it makes sense, or it's not going to put him back, or whatever, how he's feeling. So, but yeah, that used to piss me off.
Yeah, because
it
was like,
I'm like, hello, like, you're not going to say that.
It's like having a ready to go answer. Because if we were in an argument, I already got ready to go answers, I wasn't listening to nothing you were saying. Yeah. When my answers are already ready to go, like, so as soon as she come in here, as soon as she get to talking, I already got answers. So I'm, if she may highlight some stuff that was wrong that I did, but because my answer's already ready to go, I ain't even listening to her. And I'm not saying that you can't have that, but to me, a part of the key of having good conflict resolution is a simple fact that you can compartmentalize your ready to go answers by what is being told to you at that time.
Yeah.
So listen, and some of that listening, you still can have your ready to go answers. I'm not saying they won't exist, but listen. And when you're listening, now you're going to be able to have a better conversation.
And I think too, and this is something that we just started recently doing, especially, when it comes down to, my spiritual journey and his spiritual journey, of not making it like our perspective or what we're thinking is not on track or not is wrong in a sense, so saying like, okay, I can understand what you're saying, or okay, well, that makes sense, but I was also thinking this, or this is how I feel. So, because sometimes it's like when you knock the person, out the water, like that don't even make sense, or I don't even know why you feel like that. It's kind of just like, well, you're being dismissive to how I feel. Mm-hmm. So acknowledge that's what it is. So you want to acknowledge what they're saying, like, okay, I understand that. I can see how that make you feel, or I can see why you think that. But this is whatever on my side, and then whatever it is, make it understanding and make it clear, and hopefully you guys can come together and say, okay, and then y'all have that dialogue.
Facts.
But I think first, don't acknowledging. We want to acknowledge each other and say, okay, I can see that, but this is what I was saying.
And I just even add to that, to your point, because you make a great point, is being able to understand that not every argument somebody has to be wrong and somebody has to be right.
Yeah, that's true too.
That's what that comes down to. Like, two things can be true at the same time. How you made me feel can be exactly right, and how I made you feel could be exactly right from that. Mm-hmm. And being able to acknowledge that I played a part in said problem to a certain extent. Mm-hmm. I think that's where we sometimes lose each other, that we never feel like we played a part in the situation at hand.
Whatever the conflict is.
Whatever the conflict is. And so, like, I'm trying to think of a time that wasn't too crazy.
For you and I?
Yeah. That wasn't too crazy where, where it was like, where we played a part in it. And so I can think of we've had one major argument. We've had one major argument, right? And I think
you talking about what?
The trash can situation.
You gonna bring up the dang trash can?
The trash can situation.
That was 5 years ago.
So background information: me and the wife, we go to Vegas Memorial Weekend. We're around this time actually, and we have a ball because we do Vegas like no other. And then we get back, and like for some odd reason, she tripped on me about the trash can. Now, I can sit here and say there have been times where I didn't take out the trash can on time, but eventually I always end up taking it out. But this particular time, the trash can really triggered Renee. And I told her, like, hey, but she was triggered. Like, triggered. And she went off, and I left. I didn't go far. I just went to a little hotel down the way. But I left because I just didn't feel like being talked to like that when we've had conversation about how we supposed to speak to each other.
Yeah.
You feel me? Like her mom was there, the kids was there. Like that wasn't a space for us to go do that. On top of we just came off a great trip, and in that, like she's admitted that she could have handled that better.
Yeah.
But as I'm looking back at it, that's also me like understanding that that was a trigger for her,
Mhm.
and that wasn't the first time we've been in that situation.
And like, and I think right as far as that go, but I think now we understand on how to communicate that, because he could have been like, DJ, you could have been said like, oh babe, I'm gonna get to it, I got you, but I think you was just, I don't know, did you even, I don't, it was just you was nonchalant about it.
Yeah,
you was nonchalant
because I didn't think it was. I didn't, because I'm looking at like we just came back off a trip.
Yeah,
like this ain't that big
it's
of a
not
deal.
as big of a deal. Yeah.
But to her in that moment,
it was a big of a deal.
It was a big.
It needed to be taken out.
It was a big deal, and I think I was on the game. Yeah, because it was a Sunday. Because we got back on that Sunday. It's a so we got that Monday off, and I'm on the game. Chill. I've been chilling all day on the game, and you feel me? The trash ain't been taken out, and like and she tripped off of it. Yeah. And again, like I can take my part in it and say like, oh, I could have been better because this wasn't like the first time or whatever the case is. So now, like the conversation we have is, let me fail you.
Yeah.
You feel me? Let me fail you with your request before you get to pressing and seeing what I'm doing. And I want to say over the last 2 years, Corday has so much grace in that she had asked me about a task. That's not, not nothing too extreme, but like small tasks. Yeah. She'll just let it play out. She may come by and even remind just to see. And I'm like, oh, you know what? Dang, my bad, babe. I did kind of forget.
Yeah.
And like now we're so much better at that versus, certain things. Like even with me, I ask her and I just see, how she does it or whatever the case is. Like even something small, like with Jackson, the baby. We've learned that Corday has to get up a little earlier when she's trying to help me out. And it's not necessarily her fault, but
I handled that so well because I could have responded.
No, I'm saying just getting him up and getting him dressed.
I know, but what I'm saying is that the communication, it was healthy communication, because I could have just been like, because you said, babe, you got to get up a little bit earlier, just so if he's tripping, we have a little bit more time. And I said, you know what, you're right. I need to be getting up at 6:30. I'm gonna set my alarm.
Yeah.
So normally the response is like, well, I'm tired.
Or mine is Corday, like damn, you ain't gonna never,
aggressive or.
So, but it's understanding the gentleness in the conversation, and that's me being like, like I could be frustrated, like, dang man, she's not up again or whatever the case is. But it's like, all right, well,
let's have a conversation.
My approach is like, hey, babe, we know how he get. And I know you were on that little extra sleep, but for me to leave on time, just in case he tripping, can you please get up on time and start the process earlier? Yeah. And she was very receptive, and we was able to, move on, and now we got a little routine, and now we know we even got to wake him up earlier because the baby just be tripping, and so
you don't want to brush his teeth.
You don't want to, man. And so the other thing is, become very mindful of who you sharing information with. This kind of goes back to the earlier topic of, social media and who you're talking to. Because like once you're in a relationship or in a marriage, you want to try to surround yourself with people that are that have success in those. And success is determined by a lot of different ways, but for the most part, you want to rely on people that you can look at and be like, yeah, their relationship not toxic. That even when your friend comes to you about their situations, they're able to talk to you in a very calmful way. They're able to talk to you and not bashing the other partner, but legitimately bringing you their problem and hoping that you can come to a resolution and it actually works out. You don't want to go to that person that's never trying to tell you what you don't want to hear.
Yeah.
And you want to elaborate on some of that and how you feel about that.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's important for us to have those relationships with people that we could go to and get help if needed. But also you want to be observant. You want to see how they handle their relationships, and also even if they are dating, how they handling their dating. Are they toxic, or the men they're choosing is toxic? Or the women they're choosing is toxic. So, you want to observe, like, I may not even go ahead and get my advice from this person. Or if you do, and if it works out, great, but you also, like DJ said, you want somebody who can see both sides, I mean, because I think when it comes down to family, we're biased, like, oh, well, forget him or forget
Yeah,
her, but you want somebody who is neutral, somebody who will see both sides, and also somebody who will tell you you're wrong and say, you know
man.
what, you yeah, you kind of dropped the ball there. Like, that don't even
Yeah,
make, so you want somebody that's going to be honest and help you. And then sometimes, if it doesn't work out or whatever advice you're getting and you see that it's not getting better, then I'm a future therapist, so I'm always promoting therapy. Sometimes you just have to go get that healing for yourself. Like, everybody is, I mean, it's good that you have, people are surrounding you and to help you, but if you see, like, what, my behaviors are not changing because there's something that's rooted in me that I have to talk about and heal from, then you have to go get that therapy and get that
yeah,
self, get that cleansed out,
yeah.
but I mean, that's all I think, but
Because
definitely agree with making sure your support
yeah, your
system
surroundings.
is, your surrounding is not toxic
Yeah.
themselves.
And see, the thing is, like, I've been grateful. Like, my circle of friends, my boys, man, like, love them
Yeah.
dudes because all them dudes are real stand up guys, and our friendships are based on being honest with one another. And they're gonna
Mm-hmm.
tell me how it is. You
Yeah.
feel me? And like my boy Mike, his life and how he did things and how I'm doing things have been different. But Mike for sure never let me just think that I'm the right person in that situation. I
Right.
remember a situation with my boy Day Day. Shout out to my brother Day Day. Just graduated,
Woo
got his
woo.
another master. Shout out to my brother.
Right.
But I had a situation where I was kind of frustrated with the wife about something, and I brought it to him, and he looked at me and was like, "You wrong." And I'm looking at him like I tried to really explain how I'm right. And my brother was like,
Thank you, bro.
"You wrong." And it wasn't that he was saying
Well, I know.
that
Yeah.
I was wrong. He was just like my approach and
Okay.
my
Yeah.
approach in that was wrong. Like
Yeah.
how I felt was right, but my approach was wrong. I'm like, nah, dang, he like, bro, like nah. And he's currently not in a
Yeah.
relationship, but he fully understands me and my wife, and he
Mm-hmm.
know I love this girl, so he not gonna sit there and
Yeah.
allow me to do nothing dumb to mess that up by
Yeah.
not being mindful. And he was able to
Right.
tell me like, nah, you wrong. And so like I value those friendships. And then we're fortunate and blessed to be in a marriage group.
Yeah.
And so I got brothers
Blessing.
in that
Yeah.
situation that can tell me that I'm wrong. I got sisters
Yep.
in that situation when
Yep.
we are talking that can tell me that I'm wrong. And I'm willing to listen to
Mm-hmm.
them because I'm looking at them be successful. I'm looking at them in their marriages and
Yep.
trying to figure stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the beauty of that group because we can be critical of one another and hopefully,
Yeah.
no one's taking that in person. I know we
Right.
don't.
Right
And we can be
now.
critical of
Tell
one another.
me.
Yeah, we can be critical of one another, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And to me, over these last 2 years, being in this group, watching the growth of all our marriages, watching
Yeah.
us
Watching the
take
growth
bits
is
and pieces
crazy.
from each other to
Wow.
help all our marriages. And
Yeah.
it's just a beautiful
It
thing
is. Yeah.
to see. So, like, we're not saying that your single friend can't be a reliable source because their experiences can
Mm-hmm.
help you out a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's if that single friend is very receptive and understanding of themselves and their mistakes in it and with
Mm-hmm.
the part that they
Right.
played in their relationships.
Yep.
And if they can speak from them perspectives, then that's a good source. But you
Yeah.
also don't want to be going to married couples and relationship people that's breaking up all the time, always talking about
Because all they
divorce.
gonna do is like, yeah,
It's
that ain't,
easy.
they gonna be negative. Negative
Yeah.
any,
Oh
negative
my God.
hurt people. What?
Hurt people hurt people. Yeah,
Oh,
that's what I'm
hurt
just saying.
people.
Oh my God, like hurt
Yeah,
people hurt
hurt
people.
people hurt people hurt people. So, when you're miserable, oh, trust and believe that miserable energy
That
about
misery.
to go off on you. Like,
Yeah.
girl, what? He said that. Oh,
Misery
forget him.
love company.
Let's go. Let's go
Misery
do
loves
this.
company.
Misery love company. So, you have to be aware of that and be like, you know what? This is getting. I didn't call you to bash. Like, I called you for some help. Like, now I'm mad. Like, why I'm mad?
Yeah. Or she didn't hype you up.
Yeah,
Hype you up like, yeah, I
he
knew he
was
wasn't.
gonna, yeah. It's like, I mean, and even if he is not, it's like, I didn't call you for
Yeah,
that.
you was hoping for.
I was hoping to be encouraged about whatever the
Yeah,
situation I'm going through, but not necessarily just like, yeah, girl, leave him alone, blah blah. I mean, sometimes you gotta just be like that.
yeah.
It just depends on the situation. But I think overall it's just, making sure whoever you're getting your advice from is just not
Yeah.
toxic.
And you're willing to be receptive of said advice.
Yeah.
If you're out here being dumb a dummy bear, as Renee like to allude to, and your friend tells you that you've been a dummy bear, you may want to listen to her. Yeah, it may not be what you want to hear and all that, but that may be the sound advice that she's willing or
And
he's willing
don't
to
think,
give.
because you're you just don't want to see us happy, or it's like, what?
Nah, nah,
I'm telling you this because I want to see you
yeah.
happy.
And sometimes the truth it be
Yeah.
y'all don't need to be together. And
Yeah.
sometimes the truth is you need to go heal and fix you before you try to go
Be in
be
a
with somebody.
relationship.
Like so like
Yep.
in
Yeah.
seeking advice,
Yep.
A, find people that are good and reliable. B, be receptive to their advice. And understand that some people are really genuinely speaking from a good place, especially if you hear the same message from a few people.
Yeah.
If you was to go to Corday and she say something to you, and then you come to me and I say it, and you go, and everybody say the same message,
Somebody tell the truth.
you may want to listen. You may want to listen. Okay. And then the final thing I think that we have really honed in on is being open and honest.
Yep.
We are not afraid to have uncomfortable conversations,
Yeah.
no matter how uncomfortable they are. Like, we've had moments we really had to separate for an hour or two because it was contentious.
Yeah.
You feel me? We had to really sit there, and we've had conversations. We talked and sat in silence for a few minutes to allow what was being said to kind of like, marinate for a second. And, there have been conversations where we've had tears being shed. We've had conversations where emotions have gotten high. Just because when you got to really hear from that other person about how they feel, it's going to hurt. It is, and it's gonna hurt because it's like, damn, I really made you feel, or I'm making you feel this way, or I made you feel that way, and like I think that has been so much better. I know for me, before our relationship, I wasn't always open and honest in my communication. I always held things back to avoid conflict, and the conflict ended up coming around, and then I didn't like to be the person to be like, well, back in December, we in a whole new year. Like, you didn't want to bring that up there. And so now, like, and she knows, I'm not letting nothing go. I mean, I'm not holding on to nothing. She'll get a text. This is how I felt. I at least started there. This is how I felt. And it may be a long text. Be like, this is how I felt. Just because I got to get that off, just so we can get going. And, I think that has helped us grow over these eight, close to 9 years of this relationship of just having difficult conversations.
Yeah. I mean, I can agree with you. I mean, we have to be okay with being uncomfortable. I mean, as uncomfortable as it sounds, we have to be okay with being uncomfortable. That's the only way that we'll be able to grow.
Growth, baby.
And we'll be able to grow and with the person we're with, so yeah, like I agree, babe. You have to have those uncomfortable conversations, and sometimes if you don't know how to have them vocally, again, you can go back to your notepad and type it out. Like, this is how I feel. I don't know how to say it, but I'm just going to just jot down everything I feel and then send that, however it may be, but the only way that you will have a successful relationship, you have to be uncomfortable. There's no way.
You have to be.
There's no way.
Because here's the thing, in life, you can't grow without being uncomfortable.
In life is like that.
You can't, like, if everything you do in life is in your comfort zone, where's there going to be growth?
Yep.
Growth is when a situation presented to you and you have learned to handle it differently. But if you continue to handle situations the same way, how can you consider yourself growing?
Right.
It's just what it is. And being uncomfortable allows for growth. Me moving to Fresno was very uncomfortable. But the growth I have gotten in these 18 years coming up has been magical. You feel me? And not that I couldn't have grown back at home, but I think God knew I needed this in order for me to grow to be the man that I wanted to become.
Yeah.
And I believe that I become the man that my mom wanted me to be and my father wanted me to be. But I had to do it a different way. Because I could have did it under their tutelage, and I was still getting their tutelage while doing it this way. But it allowed for growth because I was uncomfortable. And with us, we don't avoid uncomfortable conversations. And the biggest thing is, like what she talked about and touched on, is our spiritual journey. You feel me? And how uncomfortable that conversation has become or was.
Yeah, I think times. Now it's becoming more, for me, it's becoming more comfortable for me because my journey and my acceptance of God and where I'm at is becoming more endurance for me. So it's the conversation is like this is what it is, but like again, but in the beginning, it's very uncomfortable,
Very
especially when
contentious
it's
because
like
there's changes
what?
being made. You feel me? She was making changes that it wasn't that I didn't agree with, but it was
Yeah,
like
it
you
was
just gonna
new.
you gonna just spring this on me. Like you're not gonna like work into these things. It was just like I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. And I'm like, wait, what? Because
So
of huh?
uncomfortable.
Very uncomfortable. And so then it's like
Yeah.
because she went into not, she kind of thought that I was gonna be not.
Mhm.
So I'm like, nah, chat.
Nah, that's not how it works.
And then that made it even more
It made it
uncomfortable.
more
You
uncomfortable.
feel me? And so like we really had
Yeah.
to get through that and
Hmm.
talk through that and all that. And this is why like a
Yep.
part of the reason why we love traveling together.
Hmm.
And we about to start traveling now.
Yeah.
And because this just allows for us to talk. Like
Hmm.
we spend hours on the road with no music, just
Yeah.
chopping it up. And that is the beauty of our relationship. And I think, like that kind of just ties into why we believe that good communication, good
Yeah.
healthy communication during conflict is important, man.
Yeah.
Like you really want to resolve your issues. They say that you shouldn't go to bed mad at each other, but I'm gonna call that unfair because I feel like I can go to bed mad. I shouldn't be holding on to anger to where but if she frustrated me, she frustrated me. And then maybe that night ain't the time to fix the problem. Because sometimes it be like that. Like,
but you don't wake up. So what if we
I
go
know, I
and you
I
just don't
know,
wake up and
but
then
what I'm saying is
don't go
maybe
to
you don't come to a resolution that night. So you can talk about it, but you're probably not as mad. I say just make sure by
yeah.
the
I
time you
think
go to
the
sleep,
conversations
the
need to be
conversation
had.
needs to be at least started and y'all can pause it or something
Yeah.
versus just nothing being said.
Yeah.
You sleep
Nothing
here,
being
I being sleep
said is
there. You feel,
no.
but I'm just saying like you can go to bed without the conflict being resolved, and that is okay.
Yeah.
Don't think that you got to
You
solve
gotta
it.
stay up all night.
Yeah,
Oh, like, well, I'm
nah,
still mad, so
I'm
I guess
still
we can't
mad.
go to
Yeah, we
sleep.
can't. Nah. So that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
it's okay to give yourself that time. It's okay
Yeah.
to if you don't solve it, she go to work, I go to work. We've had a whole day to kind of sit in that. Now when we come back home later, let's get back into that conversation. Or we texting and we talking throughout the day. So, just communicate with your partner, man. If that's a person you love, that's a person you want to be with. If that's a person that you've already started a family with,
Yep.
communicate with that person.
It's
You
important.
feel
And
me?
if you don't know how to communicate, then maybe
Like
you
seek
shouldn't.
seek help.
You know
Like
what? If you don't, yeah, seek help. But then sometimes it's like, honestly, I think it's the normalcy of wanting to always be with somebody before you fix
yeah,
yourself.
yeah.
So sometimes it's okay to
Self.
be alone.
Yeah.
And we're so desperate, as especially because social media, you see people together, you like, oh, I want that, or whatever. So it's like, but sometimes it's like God is not even calling you to be in that relationship. You're just
Mm.
forcing that, or you're just in it because that's just what you think is right to do.
Mm.
So sometimes you have to take a step back and say, you know what, I'm just gonna this is gonna be my single season, and not really single. This is gonna be my growth season.
Ooh, I like that.
This is my growth season to where I don't have to worry about
Season.
nobody else. I'm focusing on me. And if you have children, I'm focused on my babies, all that. And then, it's going to come back around. It's going to come back around way better than what you thought that you had in that relationship, because you're fully ready and you're able to allow yourself to accept the love, because sometimes, we don't even accept the love because we are not ready to accept because we
Yeah.
still got stuff.
Yes. Yes. So I mean, as
So
we are wrapping up this
yeah.
episode, you see the hat, man. All glory to God. And the biggest thing is having God in your relationship. One of the greatest things that we ever did was having premarital counseling. We didn't even think we needed it
Man, we
until we
didn't
had it.
till we got it.
And once we had it, we
Yeah.
learned so much and grew so much in that time. So
Yeah,
shout
we
out to our
did.
Pastor
Yeah.
DJ Kreiner, one of the best in the
Bro.
business.
Yep.
And he allowed us to be able to start seeing with
Yeah.
this marriage thing. And from that, like some of those principles that was in that marriage counseling, we still use today, which we kind of talked to you guys about throughout this episode. So
Yeah.
having God in your relationship,
It's
having
important.
that in your relationship is very important. and making sure that foundation from God is very important. There are so many Bible scriptures about relationships and all that kind of stuff. One of the things that stick out that we talk about is the whole submission thing, and understanding what submission looks like, and understanding, and I'm gonna just speak from the guy's perspective as a husband, to love your wife as the Lord loved the church, and to understand that you really have to, as a man, you have to pour into your wife the same way God poured into the church. You have to make your wife believe that you are the right person to lead this family, to lead everything, because that's the way God made everybody feel, that we have the right leader. I don't mind following this person because this person is showing me day in and day out through messages, through conversation, through messages, through action, through all those kind of things, that this person is a leader. And so in order for you to love your wife that way and to do it like that, or your girlfriend, potential wife, however it is, you have to exert that kind of energy into it, especially when I'm speaking to everybody that's getting a little older, early 30s, mid 30s. We ain't got time to be playing games. We ain't got time to be sitting there not dating, thinking about the future. So really pour into people and love your wife. And when you love your wife like the way they love church, what usually happens?
The way that they love church?
Oh, the way the Lord loves the church. And what usually happens once you do that?
Really, I mean, just to kind of go back, right? Because I think we talked about this, and I mean, for me, it's like the submission part. Because when we think about submission, we think about, I'm not about to just be submitted to him, like, especially if, we have this mind frame of,
submission
it's a give and take thing. Well, if he ain't doing this, I ain't, But what I have learned, and I actually have learned this from, I think her name is Linnell, but she's a rapper, a Christian rapper. And I learned this from her, is that it's important for us to have a relationship with the Father, and that our relationship and how we submit to him will dictate how we submit to our husband. So that is huge. Like, that's, and I'm just like, what? Like, oh my God. So it makes so much sense. So if we're just like, well, whatever, and our relationship with God is not where it needs to be, then our relationship with our spouse is gonna be rocky. But if we're oneness with the Father, we're gonna be oneness in our marriage, because we're oneness, and it's God, the husband, the wife, and things like that. So again, it's important to have a relationship with God. Period. There's no wiggle room. There's no what if I do this, what if no. You're gonna find yourself in this cycle of feeling a void, and I can speak that for me, even being happy with my husband, because this is a blessing in my life. Like, he's definitely a blessing in my life, and I thank God for him every day, but when God is the center, you will feel that it's like I'm missing something. I'm missing that wholeness. So now I feel whole, I feel complete with my man, with my husband, with me. Like, okay, I got it. This is how it's supposed to feel, and without that relationship, I believe that we would potentially be, not potentially, we will be
in a hamster wheel.
Yeah.
I'm
trying to hold on, like, wait, hold on. But with God, it's like, it's gonna be a little shaky, but he gonna make sure we still gonna be on track, if that makes sense. So I think it's important, again, we gotta have a relationship with God in order for us to have healthy relationships with our husbands, with our kids, with people outside. That's just what it is.
Yeah, man. And so, the old saying, they say, happy wife, happy life. Nah, man, happy spouse, happy house. And I mean that because y'all are spouses. And both spouses are happy, the house will be happy. So, we love y'all.
That's true.
Thank you again for tuning in for another episode of What?
Let's talk about it with the Redmonds.
Yeah. Be on the episode. Be on the lookout for the next episode. We love y'all. Stay blessed. Continue to stay prayed up. Love one another. Fix those grudges and all that kind of stuff, man. We love y'all. The Redmonds are out. Peace.
Almost good.